Amorim lives another day at Manchester United despite speculation and rumours and a very erratic post-match interview that did suggest maybe he could go. Now, there is reports of Manchester United ready to hold a meeting after the Burnley game in the international break, but it looks like Amorim is safe for now, but we don't know how long. Now, a lot of news has happened at Manchester United today outside of the manager situation. We have a here we go for Garnacho. We've agreed 2 deals in one day. The Hojlund deal's been agreed. Just some final details before the here we go. So Garnacho and Hojlund agreed. Antony is very close to an agreement and could be a permanent deal. And this triple exit, 2 of which are basically done pending medical and final details, could open the door for Baleba. It looks like United have pretty much got 2 exits done in one day. There is some reports of the dressing room turning on Amorim. We're going to get into reports on Amorim's future, but let's talk about the exits. Let's talk about the news. So yeah, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and this is your 10-minute roundup show. And if you're new to the channel, we round up all the latest news throughout the transfer window, very late at night, in about 10 minutes for you guys, so you're up to date and you don't need to watch a whole hour-long live stream. I'm going to do it in 10 minutes for you guys. Alejandro Garnacho to Chelsea, here we go. Deal done between Chelsea and Man United. Garnacho only wanted Chelsea and will sign a 7-year deal at the club for a fee close to 40 million. Blah, 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 blah. Am I happy Garnacho's gone? Yes. Am I glad that Garnacho's gone? Yes. Did Garnacho need to go? Yes. Am I happy about the price? Absolutely not. I don't care that Garnacho was rejecting everybody else. I do not care that Garnacho was part of the bomb squad. We should have got 50 million. If Garnacho was a Chelsea Academy player in their bomb squad, we probably would have paid 60, 70 million for him. Let's be honest. Because Chelsea, Nkuku's in their bomb squad on crazy wages. They got a similar fee for Nkuku, who's older on crazy wages. João Felix is in Chelsea's bomb squad. They got more for João Felix, who was atrocious on loan at AC Milan. I'm just going to make this clear. Only Yamal and Desiree Doué got more goal contributions to Garnacho last year, players aged 21 or under. I think he's been underrated by our fan base in the sense of this club is so toxic, this club is so negative, that we've almost underrated our players because they go to other clubs and they do well. I want Garnacho gone. Garnacho was frustrating, but for me, 40 million, if you're selling abroad, 40 million is not that bad. But when you look at the market, you look at the fact that Madueke went for 52, Gittins, who got 1 goal in 6 months, that's much worse for Garnacho, Chelsea paid 55 for, and that we're Chelsea's rival, and we've gifted them Garnacho for 40 million when we had to pay 60 million for Mason Mount with 1 year left on his deal. One of our brightest academy talents. I think we've been mugged off. Southampton got relegated. They've sold Dibbling and Fernandes for more than we sold Garnacho, and that's a relegated club. And Dibbling is not better than Garnacho. Ipswich got relegated and got the same amount from Mari Hutchinson, who Chelsea sold just last year. Jacob Ramsey went for more, and he doesn't start for Villa. Dango Ouattara went for more, and he was a backup at Bournemouth to Evan Nielsen. João Felix went for more. Gittins went for more. Madueke went for more. Alanga went for more. Liverpool got 35 million for Kwanzaa, who started 4 Premier League games in 4 of those starts. One of them he was hooked up at half-time. The last 2 with Liverpool already won the league, and they still got 35 million for him. And Nkuku was only a few million less and crazy wages. I don't care if Garnacho was in the bomb squad. We should have got 50 million. We should have waited till deadline day and got 50 million. And people are saying, yeah, but we needed to sell. Garnacho was rejecting every other club. I'm telling you this now. Gittins is incredibly raw. Chelsea love Garnacho. If it went down to deadline day and we said 50 million or walk away, and we told Chelsea we're more than happy to have Garnacho sitting in the reserves because he's on low wages, I think Chelsea would have paid up 50 million. I also think Garnacho, who was rejecting Villa, Tottenham, Bayern, and every top club around, would have all of a sudden accepted one of those clubs on deadline day if he was told you can stay in the reserves and wait till January for Chelsea, or you go to another club. I think with it being a World Cup year, Garnacho threatened that he was going to stay and he was happy sitting in the reserves. But let's be honest, I think Garnacho would have gone to Bayern Munich on deadline day had Chelsea not gone in for him. I generally think we could have got 50 million. I generally think if it was the other way around, we would have paid 70 million for him from Chelsea. And I think we've been mugged off. I'm happy Garnacho's gone. Good riddance, get him gone. 10%, everyone's like, there's a 10% sell-on clause. So if Chelsea's selling for 100 million, we get 10 million. So we make 50 million in total, and they'll get a 50 million profit. I just think the reason it annoys me is he needs to go. He's fallen out of Amorim. He's got the ego of an idiot. But if we sack Amorim and 2 months later, we bring in a manager that plays a 4-3-3 direct football, and we're crying out for someone that can come off the bench, make a difference, and have a bit of pace, which we really lack in this team right now after selling Rashford and Garnacho, we're going to look like idiots. I just think we've been mugged off. I'm glad he's gone. I'm glad it's over, but I think he's been mugged off. From United's perspective, they're very happy, very, very happy with the Garnacho deal because the 40 million fixed fee is a good deal for them for a player who didn't have a future at the club. We never make money from sales because we're crap at selling. So this is like a record for us in many years. But we should have got 50 million. We should have got 50 million. I don't know how Garnacho is worth the same amount as Max Kilman. You know, I don't know how he's worth less than João Felix. A little bit more than Kwanzaa. But that's the problem. We underrate our own players because the toxic environment makes them look worse. And we're not good at selling. And I just think, look, I would have wanted 60 million. I get the toxic environment, the bomb squad. He goes down to 50 million. I'm not happy with it, but I'm happy he's gone. The agreement is done 2 days ago between United and Napoli for Hojlund. They are fixing something on the player side, then he will travel for medical. Do you know what's mad? We're about to get 40 million for Hojlund. I'm glad we got 40 million and Garnacho's gone. I would have wanted 50 million. I think we've been mugged off. I'm very glad we're going to get 40 million for Hojlund. This is basically 2 deals done in 1 day. Romana said 2 days ago we've got an agreement between us and Napoli for Hojlund. We're just waiting for Hojlund to give the green light to Napoli. And Hojlund's basically given the green light to Napoli pending some final details. But Hojlund to Napoli is basically done. Di Marzio said there's a verbal agreement between Napoli and United for Rasmus Hojlund, loan with obligation to buy 45 million. There's a few final details that need to be sorted in regards to Hojlund and guarantee of minutes and stuff like that, I think. But there's a loan with an obligation to buy, not a loan with an option to buy, an obligation to buy. So we could be getting 40 million. That's 38.7 million pounds, but we're also getting 3 or 4 million up front for them having him on loan. So we're going to get 40 million for Hojlund. We've got 40 million for Garnacho. That's an 80 million, here we go, in 1 day. So look, I'm happy with that. That's 80 million coming in. I think Hojlund is a conditional obligation. So if he scores less than 10, for example, I don't know what the conditional obligation is, but a conditional obligation is something like if Hojlund scores more than 10 goals, Napoli have to trigger the fee. Hojlund gets 9 goals, he gets sent back because he doesn't meet his conditions. Hojlund gets 11 goals, Napoli trigger the fee. Now that is, I don't know what the conditional obligation is. That's an example. It might be Hojlund has to play a certain amount of minutes. It might be Hojlund has to get a certain amount of goals. But apparently it's a conditional obligation, which is probably amount of goals or amount of minutes or amount of something that Hojlund has to do for it to be a permanent. So if Hojlund's bad, they don't need to make it a permanent deal. But there's a loan with an obligation of 45 million euros. So that's 80 million coming in for United unless Hojlund stinks up on loan and doesn't get that obligation in, which shouldn't be the case because obligations are normally designed so they're quite easy to trigger. And there could also be a third exit coming in. Antony and Real Betis deal is getting hot. Talks are ongoing tonight, says Romano. Now, the last few days, Antony and Real Betis has been heating up. I think we're at the point now where, unfortunately, Manchester United are doing what I was worried they were going to do, and that's cave because we're near the transfer deadline. I think we're at that point where United are like, we're near the transfer deadline, we need to sell, and maybe United are desperate to sell and get some movement because maybe they're planning to buy someone in. We're going to talk about Baleba in a second and how this could potentially fund a late move for Baleba because, you know, Laurie Whitwell said, look, while the deal's difficult to do, it's not completely off. Maybe United are selling and fire selling because they know they need to get Amorim this midfielder before the window closes. Because if there's any chance that Amorim to succeed at Man United, he needs to 1, adapt the system, and 2, bring in a good midfielder. So maybe United are like, you know what, we'll do loans with obligations, even though we just wanted a straight up buy. We'll cave and sell Garnacho for cheaper because they're planning something. And Antony and Real Betis is getting hot. Talks are ongoing, and this breakthrough could be soon. So let's break down the sales. 40 million for Garnacho, 40 million for Hojlund if conditions are met. So that's basically an 80 million, here we go, incoming. Antony set to go as we seek a permanent deal. We've got Sancho and Malacia next. Let's see what happens with the goalkeeper situation. We want to sign a goalkeeper. One of them could go. It might be difficult. So yeah, let's talk about the ins. I do think caving on Garnacho, selling Hojlund, selling Antony. I think we will sign a midfielder. I think INEOS know we need to sign a midfielder. I think we're going to be going out and signing a midfielder. This was said by Ben Jacobs. Amorim felt that he's at least one short in the centre of the park in his system. It was his decision to pursue a midfielder. It doesn't matter if Amorim's manager, it doesn't matter if we had a different manager. We need a midfielder. Regardless of who the manager is, we've needed a midfielder for a while. The fact that it's been ignored for so long is absolutely crazy. Baleba's the perfect midfielder. I don't know if we're going to get him, but the deal isn't off. We have to just hit a certain price range. And with the sales and with the money coming in, and with Baleba giving the green light that he wants to go to United, I wouldn't be shocked if we made a late move for Baleba because Amorim really wants a midfielder. And if the board are going to back Amorim, they've got to give him a midfielder. We know via First Post / Independent that Baleba is the top priority, but there's 100 million plus demand. We know that after the 1-1 Fulham draw, Amorim demanded United return for Baleba. So we still want Baleba. We still haven't completely ruled it out. And apparently United are ready to dish out 120 million on Baleba once the sales are sorted. So potentially this money from exits could be going on a late move for Baleba, could be funding that final signing. In reports to other Manchester United news, Jamie Jackson said that Ruben Amorim's tactics and man management are being questioned by some in the United dressing room, and there's a feeling at the club that the head coach may resign unless he picks up results. So that's one to keep an eye on. Will Amorim resign? I honestly think there's going to be an emergency meeting after the Burnley game. I think if he loses to Burnley, he could resign. Right at the end of the transfer window, which would be the worst timing ever because we just backed him. And I get why INEOS would want to give him 10 games to try and make it work because they just backed him and they don't want to rush into a decision. But I think if we lose to Burnley, he could resign. And there is reports of the dressing room turning on him, but I'm not going to give it too much attention. But apparently United want to give Amorim time. Sources say it was always felt the journey being taken under Amorim was a long one, and the club wants to avoid making short-term decisions based on a couple of poor results, which is fair. I think what happened at Grimsby is a sackable offence, but I also get it's the transfer window, it's a big financial mess to sack him. Also, who the hell is available now? Thomas Frank is gone. Maybe they want to give him a few more games, bigger sample size. For me, if Amorim changes his system, he can make it work. If Amorim gets a midfielder, he can make it work. But I don't have much confidence in Amorim to change it up because he's doing the same thing for 9 months that doesn't work. And if it doesn't work versus Grimsby, it's not going to work in the Premier League. That's my one worry. But anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. They did say Ten Hag was safe and he got sacked a week later, so who knows. Thank you for watching. Bye.